that, now we're going to get into spoilers. So if you
haven't seen the movie yet, go watch it before you see this next part.
Yeah, or if you don't care about spoilers, I guess stick around then. So yeah, the whole thing with Sarah Bello is she didn't kill the kids. It was her family's paper company that killed the kids with or not paper company, but weren't they distributing water or something like that? And there was mercury in the water.
And that was what was killing the kids.
And that was what was poisoning the kids. And the family basically just used her as a
scapegoat.
Where it's we don't want people to know this, because then we'll go out of business and we'll have to answer in court for this. There'll be lawsuits and everything. So yeah, let's just push this on her.
Oh, definitely. And they definitely put it on her so bad to the point where they admitted her into an insane asylum.
Yeah, and they talk about what was used to treat her, and it's I was jeez.
They literally tormented her. This was female hysteria levels of treatment.
This was Salem witch trials level of treatment.
Exactly. They used electroshock therapy.
There was kind of a scene where that was kind of like the Salem witch trials, where they're basically electrocuting her and basically telling her to confess.
Yes.
To what she did, or what they're saying that she did, and she's refusing to confess, and you just keep hearing her getting electrocuted.
Exactly.
It made me wince.
It put me in a lot of spiritual pain.
Yeah.
I feel like the Salem witch trials is something that they really tried to call on, because that's the second time upon our own discussions that's been brought up. With the electrocution, trying to get her to confess, but also with the slave girl that they had.
Yeah, I was about to mention that there's a girl that they were that part of the legend was that they think that she taught Sarah black magic or something like that, or that her mother taught her black magic. And yeah, there was this little black, obviously slave girl. It was at the time, it was the 1800s, so that was back when slavery was still legal. They end up the main characters end up going to see her. She's still alive. She looks like she's in her 90s or something. She's really, really old.
Yeah.
She's blind now, and her daughter takes care of her. And one thing I liked was I got a little worried seeing her, because I'm oh god, are they gonna do the magic black woman trope again? And they don't. She doesn't know any black magic. She said Sarah was the one that knew black magic or something like that.
She didn't say that Sarah knew black magic. They literally chalked it up to this is her rage,
that's
that
what
lives on.
It's just, you know what? I just realized, you know what it reminded me most of? Paranorman. You remember Paranorman?
I literally have that movie on the office.
That's what it reminded me of, with how the witch in that movie is revealed to just be a little girl that got hung for being a witch.
Exactly.
And which I love that movie so much.
I do too.
And that's what that kind of reminded me of, was this isn't black magic. This is just a vengeful spirit that's just angry at what happened to her and is just lashing out at anyone in the vicinity.
Exactly.
And yeah, they do a good job, because Stella has this really big speech to the ghost near the end, where she's basically telling her that
she was the victim, and that what happened to her was wrong.
But now you're the monster that they say that you are.
Exactly.
And you don't have to be, and I like that they do that, because I don't know, I kind of like stories like that, where it's a victim is turned into the victimizer, because that happens in real life.
It does.
That happens plenty of times in real life, unfortunately.
And yeah.
And so I like that they had that theme in there. And another thing I kind of want to mention with the woman who is the slave. When they're in her house, there's a music box playing, and I knew the tune from somewhere, or at least the melody, I guess. And then she starts singing one of the songs, because the book series has a few songs that are in it. And one of them is called "Don't Ever Laugh as a Hearse Goes By," and she starts singing it to the music box. And I'm oh yeah, that's where I've heard that song before. Which I was so excited when I heard her singing it that way because I'm like, that's exactly how I sang it when I was a kid. Like that's the same tune I sang it to.
They based it
same,
on
same,
you.
Same tempo. No, I think that's just how it's like. It just naturally sounds like that.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like how Shakespeare's stuff has that cadence to it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
or whatever. Like, yeah, that kind of thing. Now, what other spoiler? Oh yeah, let's talk about the deaths in this movie. I say deaths because some of them were more like they were taken to some other dimension, I guess.
And I want to talk more about that theme, especially.
Yeah.
The kind of it's not even multi-dimensional, it's more like parallel dimensional at some point.
Yeah, it reminded me of like, there's, I've told you a little bit about the SCP Foundation, but one of the SCPs is like this creepy, deformed looking old man that can travel into other dimensions, and he takes people like he takes people into like what's called a pocket dimension and just keeps them there and just torments them until he just decides, okay, I've had enough playing with you, and then he just kills them. And it's so creepy.
What?
It's terrifying.
That's kind of what this was like.
Yeah, it really is, because like there's one that I think died, just the bully character. Because okay, now that we're in spoilers, let's describe what happened to him. So Harold stabs him with a pitchfork, which I didn't realize what was happening at first. So like,
I thought he was coughing up blood.
Yeah, me too. And then all of a sudden you see it's hay,
like growing through, like
yeah, like he's turning into a scarecrow, and it's horrifying.
It really is.
So much body horror in this movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like his transformation is really horrific because you just kind of see out of every orifice, including like his new orifices from like the pitchfork wounds. The hay is just coming out of him.
So gross.
And he's just ripping it out in his face because he's suffocating. So his face is turning blue, and you can see the veins all in his face.
Yeah.
Like,
oh god, the effects are just so good. In that
I know.
So yeah, that was the first death. The second one was August, or Augie as he was also called, and that was the. I was surprised that they had this story in here and that they kept it as like not like darkly comedic as it was in because the story that he gets thrown into is called The Big Toe, which that story was so weird to me as a kid. It
probably still is.
It just has like, it's like this young kid, like probably like 12, finds some big toe growing out of the ground, and so he takes it home and makes stew out of it. And I'm like, why is he making stew out of a toe? Like, is he a cannibal? like why? I never got that as a kid. It was like, why would you eat a toe? Of all things, why would you eat a toe? And so, yeah, he eats the toe, and then all of a sudden a ghost, the owner of the toe, comes back, and she's like, who took my big toe? And, yeah, that's the story. And with August, it's like he finds the stew already in the fridge. He doesn't find the toe because that would be weird. That's one of the things they changed. Which, yeah, that change makes sense because that would just raise so many questions. Like, okay, this guy has issues if he's just picking a random toe out of the ground and eating it.
Right. Question is, where did his parents get it for the food?
Actually, you weren't paying attention to the phone call then, because like you could hear he says, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this stew, and then like he pauses so that his mom or dad can talk on the phone, and he just goes, yeah, well, someone made it, and so I'm eating it, and so they were probably saying, what are you talking about? We didn't make a stew.
Oh god.
And so he's like, oh well, someone made it, so I'm eating it.
Well, what's so gross is there were other body parts, like when it fell down on the ground,
yeah,
there was an eye and like a finger.
Yeah, I was just like, don't eat it. It's Wendy's chili. If anyone remembers that story from like a decade ago, I think it was actually a thumb that she found in the chili, not a toe. But it was nasty. Oh god. And yeah, like he ends up eating the stew, and like he pulls a fucking toe out of his mouth.
I was dry heaving the whole time.
It was just like gross. And then yeah, the ghost shows up, which I think they showed in the trailer too, and like, who took my big toe? Which I also noticed that I think that the ghost there was also the ghost, or like they mixed her with the ghost from the haunted house story, where that's probably the most infamous illustration in this book is the haunted house ghost, which, like, I don't know if you want to find it, just show the camera. But that's definitely the one that like gave me the most nightmares as a kid and gave most people the most nightmares. It's this horrifying looking woman that's like, she's like half of a skeleton, but she has like lips at the same time. It's just, the artist, the illustrator of this book is just amazing. I love his artwork. And they mix the toe ghost in the movie with her. I noticed. I kind of like looked at her face, and it's like, yeah, I can see that they mixed that in with that, and I'm glad that they did that, because I kind of wanted to see that in the movie. I wanted to see that horrifying face from my childhood. and so, yeah, he like locks himself in his room and hides under the bed. And
so it's this lady right here.
Yeah, that horrifying.
Beautifully horrifying
look
image.
Look at that. Yeah. I was.
Don't you want to make
10.
out with that?
I was 10 when I saw that.
The woman of my dreams, right there.
And yeah, this is a perfect summarization of me when I saw that. It's like, just shut that right fast and just. Like, okay, I'm gonna wait to open that back up again.
When it's daylight.
Yeah. But yeah, he's like hiding under the bed and like looking for wherever the ghost is, and then like the ghost ends up being like under the bed with him, and she just pulls him into whatever pocket dimension that is.
Exactly, like because all you see after that is
just his fingernail marks that were left behind as she dragged him off.
And then the board of the wall.
Yeah, they just end at the board of the wall. But there's no hole or anything.
Exactly.
And then after that is the red spot story with with Charlie's older sister. Which
I feel like she didn't deserve that to happen to her.
I know, like, oh.
She just wanted to perform in Bye Bye Birdie.
I know. I was like, oh god, like I don't want this character to get to, like, at first I was sort of wanting it because I saw she was kind of being bitchy at the very beginning, but then I'm like, okay, she's not that bad.
Right.
She's just an older sister. And you could already see that it was coming, because like even before that story happened, she has like a zit on her cheek, and it just keeps getting bigger, and you already, like, if you've read the story before, you already know what that's hinting at.
Exactly.
And it's just like, I was like, oh god, I'm just like waiting for it to happen, and just, it's so gross.
I feel like she's like, I was thinking about it, I feel like her story and Ramon's story are like the outliers in which they don't get pulled into a pocket dimension.
Yeah, they don't. Or, well, Ramon probably was going to, but it, like,
I don't know what would have happened to Ruth, just death by spiders, I guess, or?
Probably, because at first I thought she did die at first, because Charlie says something at one point where he says, first Augie's gone, now Ruth's gone, and because he said gone, I'm like, wait, did she die from that? I'm like, okay, maybe she got bit by too many spiders and that poisoned her or something.
Right.
But no, she did. I don't know why they had him say she's gone. But she was like locked up in like a nut house for like a little while, because of course she just had a bunch of spiders come out of her face, and she had a big hole in her face. Yeah, so like, yeah, and you can see the hole, like they don't show it directly because she's like covering it up, but like between the parts where she's covering it up, you can see like a hole in her face, and it's so gross.
It is. I thought she lost her eye, like legit.
Yeah. Oh god, it was just when the spiders come crawling out. Oh god, that story, I love that story, but I hate that story. Like, that story always made my skin crawl. Like, there's other versions of that story. Like, I've heard it told where, like, she actually ends up going to like, a dermatologist for it. And then when the dermatologist is examining it, the spiders just burst out and crawl all over him.
Oh, my God.
Just, like, they just shoot out of her face, basically, like, onto him.
Jesus Christ.
And so yeah, there's that one, and after that is the Pale Woman, where when you see that one coming, when he mentions that he's been having a nightmare about like the Pale Woman, where like he goes to a red room, as he called it. This Pale Woman with scraggly hair and dark eyes would like come up to him and say, "This is an evil place. Run while you can," just like in the story I described earlier. And he's like, "I'm worried that the ghost is going to use that against me," and she does use it against him. When they go to like a hospital to try and find some medical records on Sarah Bellows, and the room that they're kept in is called the Red Room, but like it's like an anagram.
Records and documentation, something like that.
It's like an acronym for something. But like yeah, he just hears the word Red Room. He's like, nope, I'm not going in there, and he ends up basically getting chased in there by some guys who are like, hey, you're not supposed to be in here. And the freaking woman shows up, and it's just, oh god, that was terrifying. It's just, no matter where he turns, she's right there, just like walking.
Just creating this narrow space, and he can't escape.
Yeah, and it's just, yeah, which, like I said, that doesn't happen in the short story. She just shows up, and then the woman that she shows up to is just like, nope, and just runs out of the hotel and never comes back.
Right.
And she takes her dream's advice and leaves while she still can. And yeah, God, like his like not death was like creepy. Like
it was some unbirthing shit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. She like hugs him and then just like
absorbs
him into her body like a amoeba, and it's just, ugh, it's so gross.
It really is.
And she just has like this demented grin, like
while she's doing it,
like a freaking frog. That's what she looks like.
Hey.
Oh yeah, her last name's Frog. If you guys don't know. But oh god, like her mouth especially was just like,
I liked what they did for her. I don't know if it was practical or CG. It felt like a combination of both, but it was really well.
It probably was. It was probably kind of like in Pan's Labyrinth with the fawn.
Right.
Where that was a combination of practical and CG effects.
Exactly.
Because she seemed like she was actually there. Like
right.
It seemed like it was like someone that was there, and then they put a little bit more CG on top of her.
Exactly.
And let's see. After that, let's see what else. What's the one after that? Oh yeah, that one. Roman's the one after that. Where I was not expecting them to put this one in there, because this is another one of the weirder ones from the book. I think this one's in the first book, and it's called Mitai Dotai Walker. That's what it's called.
Right.
It's such a weird title. And in the book, it's a story where like this kid and his dog find some abandoned cabin in the woods, which yeah, of course, great idea, stay in a cabin in the woods.
Right.
And yeah, they stay in the cabin in the woods because they're like lost or something. And in the middle of the night, all of a sudden he hears something chanting Mitai Dotai Walker, and the dog starts chanting back somehow, and each time the dog chants back, the chanting gets louder, and it's coming from the chimney, and the kid keeps trying to get his dog to stop chanting because it's getting closer, and it's like, I think it ends with like, yeah, a head falls out of the chimney and chants Mitai Dotai Walker, and then the dog dies at the end. And that's how it ends. The dog just keels over, I guess, scared to death. And that's how it ends. That's, like I said, it's one of the weirder stories. I feel like it's like a story from like some other culture that probably makes more sense in that culture.
I would like to look up the name and kind of see what it's based on.
Specifically because of the chant. Just because I'm like, that sounds like it could be something from like another language or something. It's probably what it is. Kind of like the Wendigo.
But then that leads to another death, which
oh god, that was kind of funny too, because like, yeah, basically a head falls out of the chimney at the police station, and just like.
Why is there a chimney at a police station?
I was wondering that too. I guess because the plot demands it. literally, the plot demanded it. And yeah, a head falls out just like in the short story and chants Mitai Dotai Walker, and the cop just looks at it and he's like, "Are you shitting me?" Which, appropriate response. I probably would have had that reaction too. And he just shoots at it.
And I understand why he killed the police officer, since, he shot at him, but it's kind of like, so far they only had gone for their target, so
yeah,
that deviation was like,
it
was satisfying yet frustrating.
That was probably like the only like death that wasn't like
prophesized.
that wasn't a Final Destination death. And yeah, it's intended for Roman. That's one thing I also liked is like the stories had some sort of significance with like each person that it was being told to. Like,
exactly.
They'd heard like one of the stories from their childhood, like the big toe one. Augie had heard that. Like I think he said his dad used to tell it to him all the time.
Exactly.
And with Mitai Daughtai Walker, Roman's family used to tell it around the campfire, and he said it used to scare him to death. Which, like I said, that leads me to believe that story probably is from like another culture since he's Hispanic. I know that there were like a bunch of other ones that like there were a couple of other ones that where they said that they'd heard that story when they were younger,
exactly,
or something like that, or like with Harold, it was like the scarecrow already
was there. Yeah. It was always relevant in some way.
I liked that. I really liked that. And then Sarah's story ends up being the haunted house, which that's probably the one that was most changed. Because in the haunted house, it's basically like an exorcism. Like some priest stays at a haunted house and gets visited by that ghost from the illustration that you showed the camera.
Yes.
That you show our lovely viewers here.
Yeah.
Good luck sleeping tonight. And yeah, he stays there. He gets visited by the ghost, and she tells him that the reason she can't rest is because her, I think it was like her fiance killed her or something like that,
mm-hmm.
and she tells him to like do something, and it's another thing that's like it's really weird. She tells him to like, there's like an urn or something or a vase that has her finger in it, and she tells him to give it to her fiance because like her murder remains unsolved. That's why she can't rest. Like there's no evidence of it, so like the fiance can't be arrested.
Right.
And so she has the priest give the fiance the vase or something, and he reaches inside him ends up grabbing the finger, not realizing what it is. But the finger basically attaches itself to him. Like it's stuck to his hand, like it's like absorbed into his hand, but
right.
Like it's there. It's like this giant tumor on his hand, and it doesn't come off until he admits what he did and turns himself in, and that's what happens. It ends with him turning himself in and the ghost resting. So that's probably the story that deviates the most from what was in the book.
I was gonna say, based on what we saw, definitely.
Because what happens to Sarah, she ends up getting sucked into the past, basically, where she's in Sarah's place. She's at the house, like, running from her family, trying to hide from them. They're looking for her. And we end up seeing the little slave girl, which it's very obvious, yeah, she is a slave. They end up, like, taking her away because she lies about not seeing Sarah anywhere, and they just take her away and, like, just beat her. It's terrifying. And they end up, like, finding Sarah/Stella. And drag her into the basement and lock her in there, and then that's where Ghost Sarah is, and she's pretty much about to kill Stella right then, but she gives the whole reason you suck speech, and,
exactly.
And the ghost basically takes it to heart and lets her go. But here's one other thing I like that we both like, that the ending's a bittersweet ending. Like
there's no you saved everyone ending.
Yeah, the ones that disappeared stay disappeared. They don't come back, which I like that they did. I thought
it was very gutsy of them to do that.
Most movies don't do that anymore. Most movies, like when that happens, it's like they come back at the end. It's like, oh no, they weren't really dead, or they just disappeared, or oh, they're back.
They're back from the parallel dimension.
Yeah, which I'm guessing they mainly left that in there so they have the possibility of maybe making a sequel, which I honestly I wouldn't mind them making a sequel.
I would really like to see a sequel.
There's plenty of other stories in here that they didn't adapt in the movie, so yeah, they can
I feel like they could take a Stranger Things route, like where, like how they go to the Upside Down in Stranger Things. Like they could go to the whatever, it is where all these monsters live, you know.
Where all the monsters from the stories live and everything.
Exactly, because they clearly live somewhere. Like, as much as you want to, in the movie, chalk it up to, it is Sarah's rage.
Yeah.
It's
like these creatures did exist, like, well, one, because, the police officer died, they weren't just hallucinations.
Exactly, and Tommy's still missing by the end of the movie, and all the others are still missing.
Well, it's like, he's either missing or he turned into the Scarecrow.
I really speculate he is the Scarecrow.
Yeah, because, like, the Scarecrow, like, they end up going to the cornfield where he lives, and the Scarecrow's wearing his
uniform,
his Letterman's jacket. And so I'm pretty sure since like that whole thing, he's like the hay is growing out of him. He probably just became a scarecrow.
That's a problem with this movie that I personally have, is that inconsistency on where the monsters exist, where they come from, where their point of origin is. Because Harold already is in the real world upon upon the story being written for Tommy. For August, the corpse, I don't know where she goes.
Yeah.
Like, she's just gone. Same with the pale woman. The spiders all run away, so they remained in the real world.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me, because they have, like, this thing that they say at the very beginning and the very end, where, like, the stories, like, become real or something the more you tell them. And it kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you've seen the movie Candyman. You've never seen Candyman? It's basically a Bloody Mary story. It's you go to the mirror and say Candyman 3 times and he appears and kills you. But there's more to the movie than that. Like, it's like this woman's researching the legend for, like, a dissertation she's writing for her university.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically finds out that because there are deaths attributed to the Candyman. And in, like, these really poor parts of town, because I think it takes place in Detroit, and fur.
The werewolf got fur in his mouth.
Yes. But there's there are deaths attributed to the Candyman in the poorer parts of town, and she ends up finding out that it's just the people that are killing these people, and she finds out very early on. It's very early on in the movie that she finds this out. It's just this street gang that's using the legend to strike fear into people.
Right.
But then once she blows the whistle on that, the actual Candyman ends up appearing to her and basically telling her that people because of her, people have stopped believing in me, and so you have to make people believe in me again. And it's like, he's like a legend that, like, has been told so many times that he's become real.
Right.
And it's kind of, I guess it's kind of like Freddy Krueger, where he needs people to continue to believe in him to survive.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what
angle they were going for.
What Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark did, was like, because it was very clear that these stories had been, like, told before.
Right.
With some of the other characters. And so it's probably like that, where, like, they've been told so many times that the creatures have become real.
Right.
Which I also like. I like that they did that, because some of these are based on, like, urban legends where, like, they probably didn't happen, but they could. Like, I know in the first book, the classic Hook story is in there, the one where it's like, they come out of the car and the bloody hook is on the door handle.
Right.
That's told in, like, every cartoon Halloween episode.
Right.
So that's an old urban legend from, like, I think the 30s and 40s is when it originated. And that's been told, like, to death. There's so many versions of that story.
Right.
There's a bunch of other ones. Like, there's Oh Susanna, which
you just told me about that one.
Yeah, I told her that one before we filmed. But yeah, that one, it's like this woman comes home late from work and gets in bed with her roommate. And just goes to sleep, and in the middle of the night she hears someone whispering, "Oh Susanna," or not whispering, whistling, Oh Susanna, which Oh Susanna is the song that goes, Oh Susanna, don't you cry for me, stuff like that. And
right.
they're whistling it, and she thinks it's her roommate. She tells her to stop, and the whistling stops after she says that, and she starts to go back to sleep. And then the whistling starts back up again, and she starts to get mad at her roommate. She's like, I thought I told you to stop. And she takes the covers off, and her roommate's body's there, but her head's missing. And she just starts freaking out. She's like, oh God, I have to be dreaming. When I wake up, everything's going to be okay. And that's how it ends. It just ends with her like telling herself, this has to be a dream, this has to be a dream. And that story like particularly scares me now because I didn't fully get what it was implying as a kid. Because I was like, okay, what was there, like a ghost whistling or something? What was going on? I didn't realize until like I was a lot older, and I went back, picked this up again, and started reading it, and I was like, oh crap, the murderer's still in the room with them, and he's whistling. Yeah, so that's like one of those that like it's one of those things that could definitely be an urban legend. It's something that could plausibly happen. And so I kind of like that they went with that angle because a lot of these are folk tales that have been kind of passed down. That some of them probably have originated in some form of reality.
Right.
They've been told basically through a game of telephone over the past century.
Exactly.
So let's see, what else? Is there anything else that we're like missing?
I feel like we've tackled everything at this point.
I think so. Like, yeah, we just really like this movie.
Yes.
We might end up seeing it again. I'm totally down for seeing it again.
I'm ready to see it again. I was asking him like when we saw it like at an audience premiere last night, like, you want to get tickets again? Just like right now.
Right. I was like, if I didn't have work the next morning, I totally would have. Because I oh my god, that movie was just it was everything I wanted it to be. I was like, or almost everything except it wasn't an anthology.
But I mean, in a way, it turned out better that way.
It really did. Like I was like, yeah, I was wanting a creep show type anthology, but I still really liked this.
Exactly.
And also this also just to add, this is definitely my favorite Final Destination movie. That is one thing I noticed. It's very similar to Final Destination, where like their deaths are specifically Final Destination 2, where they see like a premonition of each of their deaths in some form. Where in Final Destination 2, it's like there's like something in like I think it's like either a photo or like some sort of symbol that they see, and it's like it ties to like how one of them is gonna die.
Right.
And with this, it's like, you know, it's the story. Like they see their name in the story, and it's like that tells how they're gonna get either die or get taken or whatever. So, yeah, that was our first movie review together. We definitely are gonna do more of these.
Definitely. You can tell like we've been sitting on the couch for a while. Like when we started this video, it was bright and sunny. Now it's kind of
it's starting to get evening.
Exactly. You can tell we've been sitting on the couch for a while.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully the light's still good in here because I don't want to blend into the background.
That would be impressive considering it's like a pasty eggshell color.
Yeah, but we'll definitely see you for whatever next movie we end up reviewing.
Definitely.
If it's non-horror, because I'm totally down with reviewing non-horror movies with you, we can just stick that on your channel.
Oh, definitely.
But this was Lucius Shadow.
Club Cassette.
And we'll see you for the next one.
Bye!